Hey guys, welcome back to the Calling Mom podcast. I'm Jaden.
And I'm CJ, also known as Mom.
Nobody talks about how weird it feels to outgrow people you genuinely love.
Yeah, I think sometimes growth just changes our relationships, but not everyone is meant to go with us into every season. But when we seem to outgrow those people, we often I think it's hard when there's no drama, or just sometimes the relationship just doesn't fit any longer.
Yeah, I think so. This obviously is a kind of heavy topic that we're talking about today, is people we outgrow. And this, we're not talking about the people that you need to let go, the people that you are not right for you, just simply how your worlds are.
We're not talking about bad friends.
No. We're genuinely talking about those people who you still care about in your heart, but just, your lives are going two separate ways, and that's okay. And I think we need to talk about that a little bit more. I have a story I know for a fact, just to launch us into it, so that we're all just in the same, I guess, mindset. In high school, I think high school is very you have your best of friends that you think you're going to, live together for the rest of your life. You're going to, have babies, like you and your, and they're...
those are going to be your aunties.
Yes.
I get it. Mm-hmm.
And so I remember when I was in high school, I had this best friend. Her name was Caroline. And me and Caroline did everything together, guys. This was my girl. And I just know, I still genuinely love Caroline so much because our friendship was just so amazing. It was the first, truly God-fearing relationship I've had.
Yeah.
And, I still genuinely think so highly of her. I love her family. That was my other family, okay, guys? I had a key to their house.
You did.
But I know that, she moved away for college before I did, and then because she was a senior before I was, when I was a junior, and life just took us our separate ways. I went to Birmingham and she was still in Mobile, and just things fizzle. And it doesn't mean that nothing bad happened between us, nothing icky or nasty. It's just you find your own friends in Birmingham or friends in Mobile, and you can't see each other all the time, and texting can only do so much if you're not, we're both broke college students, you can only travel so far, and I think that's kind of the idea of this episode. It's just really talk about how hard it is, but how okay it is. Mom, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that's great. I think a high school relationship is definitely something. I think even a lot of girls your age are walking through that roommate situation. Like you have roommates in college, and you're really tight with them, and because you're roommates, you do everything together, and you just well, then maybe next year you don't get paired up together, or something changes, or and no drama, nothing like that, but now you've got a new roommate, or you've got new classes and things like that. So I think it's just like you said, no drama. It didn't break up in a bad sense, but it's you've kind of grown out of that relationship. So that's kind of, I don't know, high school relationships versus adulthood relationships, maybe. And maybe there's times where you're wanting deeper conversations or different conversations, healthier connections. And I think it's just in those seasons we're bonded to certain people. What do you think bonded you to certain people when you were younger?
Oh, definitely sports.
Same.
I think during this, you're going to hear me talk about Caroline a lot, because that is truly one of the best friends that I've ever had. And there was no bad blood. There was nothing. But truly, but we got close during, so small private school, obviously everybody knows everybody. And that's the whole idea. I don't even know how me and Caroline got close. I think it was softball when I was a freshman. Yes, when I was a freshman, I started softball. She was a sophomore. She was already in the big time leagues. I was dating her best friend at the time. I do know that. Yeah. Okay, that's what that's what it was. So my first boyfriend, we kind of all grew up together, but me and her didn't grow up together. She grew up with my first boyfriend, and I grew up with my first boyfriend, but not in the same areas. And then when I got to the school, Oh, wow. I'm like really thinking about this. Technically, mom and her dad worked together. So that's how we got to the school, was because of her family.
That's right.
But I didn't know Caroline at the time. And so I remember, so me and, his name's Jackson. I love Jackson. Give all the credit to Jackson.
Well, I mean, here you go. You can talk about that too. You know, there's no bad blood, anything like that.
Jackson.
It just
I mean, I have the best of like memories with them. But Caroline and me got close because she was close with my boyfriend, and so she just became my best friend. Like, we did everything together. Then we started playing softball together. I started hanging out with her all the time. We were just, I don't know, there was just something about it that me and her just clicked. And it was so great because both of our parents were on staff at the school. And so we were known as the staff kids, and we played sports together. It was just a best of time. But I mean, the bonding was definitely the small private school, but I think it was because we both were in the same direction. We did sports together. We played a lot of sports together. We did cheer together. But, like, we were just always there for each other. We had the same, like, crushes on the same movie character, you know, stuff like that. So I think that's what really bonded us.
It's funny. We've kind of talked a lot about Caroline this past week. There was a band that Jaden, and we're not going to really jump into this, but there's a band that Jaden and Caroline absolutely loved. Rusty and I even took them to a concert in Nashville.
Yeah.
Well, there's been a lot of drama in the news around this band. They've kind of not been a thing for a long time, and something tragic just happened. And so we were just reminiscing this week. So we've talked a lot about Caroline this week, and you know, one of my things, I loved Caroline. As a parent, that's just, you know, you want your children to have friends that they run around with, and like, you don't worry about them. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, my parents did not have that. My mom could not stand my best friend growing up. Sorry if you know who you are. Oh no, if you know, you know. But my mom didn't. And rightfully so. My mom probably should have been worrying about everything we were doing. She should have been. Mama knows best. I'm just going to tell you.
I was a good kid.
But with Caroline, I think the thing that bonded you guys were really the way that you were living was different, and you know, I think y'all kind of both got a lot of flack from, I think, other classmates, like you guys were sheltered and you all this. And although it's so funny because her parents and me and Rusty are so much alike, our kids are not sheltered absolutely at all. But we required the same discipline from you guys. We required the same. We did have strict rules around our house. Like, you're not going to do this and you're not going to do this. Don't break the rules and you're not in trouble.
There you go.
You know?
Plain and simple.
And, but, you know, in that though, I think one of my questions was going to be, how much do the people around you, like, how much do people influence who you become?
Oh, I think that's, I've always grown up with the saying, show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Absolutely.
Obviously. And I truly didn't think I started living by that until my junior year of high school, truly. Yeah. But I think, like, we were serving on the chapel team, me and Caroline. We both sung on chapel. Wow, I'm just, like, reminiscing right now. So we both sung on the chapel team, and that was, like, our thing. And so me and her were very involved in our churches. We went to two different churches, but that, like, at the time before my junior year, it was my sophomore year. It was the end of my sophomore year, and I got really close to this not so great crowd that led into my junior year of, like, just not being the greatest person and not being the best friend. And I think that had to do with, like, her leaving and her about to be leaving and stuff like that. Just they were in my class. I wasn't in class with Caroline. She was a grade above me. And just, I don't know, I think we have to be very mindful. Like, I think I went into the mindset of, like, oh, I'm the good kid. Maybe I can, like, this is like,
missionary
friendship. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what's the saying that we use?
Well, we call it missionary dating. And, if you're dating someone who's not a Christian, the Bible is clear on what that is supposed to be,
right.
non-existent.
Right.
Do not be unevenly yoked and those sort of things. But, that's in your friendships, and so Jaden really thought like, oh, I can hang out with these people and I can change the way they think and I can do that. Well, life, but it's a lot harder to do that.
Yeah, it definitely is because there was a lot more of them than there was of me, and it was very hard. But I think if it wasn't for just people reminding me who I am and what I love and who I'm supposed to be, like, if it wasn't for Caroline, I don't know if I really have gotten involved with my church that I was going to. Like she really pushed me to be like, I don't know what you're doing, but okay.
Yeah, Caroline kind of held your feet to the fire. I agree with that.
She definitely did. Anyways, no, I think it's very important you need to do like a monthly evaluation of your friendships and who you're hanging out with, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times, like especially when you're in high school or you first get into college or whatever, and you're forced into these relationships.
Yeah, you said something about roommates earlier.
Mm-hmm.
This is another perfect example of like you still genuinely love the person so much, but you're just not in the same season, you're not in the same life. I even work with my old friend now, which is okay, it's still fine. Katie. I love Katie. I love Wally so much. She's my girl. We grew up together. We got really close in high school because she was at that church that I went to. And I went to college a year before her, did the thing, and then the next year, and then she came, and I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to room with her because she was my girl. And so we became roommates. That apartment situation was so great. Looking back, it's so funny. But I will say, like, me and Wally got super close. There was times where we were kind of not like the best of friends, not because we were still friends, but we weren't as close because we were trying to figure out our other two roommates because there was 4 of us all together in an apartment. Well, then after that, me and her decided to get another apartment, so we were like living together for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Almost 2. And I loved Wally. I mean, she was even a bridesmaid. Like, she was my girl, and I still consider, like, I could go to Wally right now and be like, hey, can we talk? But we're not as close as we once were. And I think that's okay. I think people change. Life seasons change. I mean, last year, guys, I started a whole completely new season that I don't think any of us had, like, ever stepped into the territory of. So I think it's just, like, you're learning, you're growing. Who are you again? That's for me. Mm-hmm. And so, and Katie had already established herself, and she's living like her best life. And I love watching. I feel like I'm on the sidelines. I'm still the biggest cheerleader for all these people. Yeah. And if I have to be a sideline character from Instagram, just know I'm rooting you on. Caroline, I don't know if you ever watched this podcast. If you're watching, I'm rooting you on being a nurser and a nurser. What?
And being a nurse.
Wow, okay, we're just gonna ignore that. Being a nurse, and I'm cheering you on. But like Katie, I love her and I know what she's doing. We talk all the time. She passes me and we like hug, and I'm just like, I love you. But we're not as close as we once were, and that's completely fine. Now there's some that you have to leave along the way, but continue.
Okay, so I have this kind of funny little thing to interject right here, but it was this conversation happened a while back ago, and just preparing for this episode, I remembered this conversation. But I was at work, and I think as you come out of the season that you're in, and well, you're kind of stepping into now. I mean, I'm at my job more than I am necessarily awake with my family at night. And, and so, there's a lot of times I think you get confused with people that you work with? Like, are we really friends? Are we not? All this. Well,
That's really good.
we were at this particular job, and this one woman was talking about, work friend, or not work friends, but she was talking about her friendships this year, and like she had grown so much, and she was so excited, and that she was doing all, and this other lady that also worked with her says, and kind of like pokes her and kind of, like, we're friends. And she went, and she literally, the lady said, yeah, but you get paid to hang out with me all day long. And I was like, whoa.
Oh.
However, I'm just going to have to say this. This was in a small group setting, but it did make me like, oh my gosh, there are times where I've been at work and I have mistaken a work friendship or a work acquaintance with someone that I was considering to be a friend.
Yeah.
And realized real quick, maybe that's not
That's good.
this season. And it really come out of a really, I'm going to be honest, I was awkward in the comment. Like, it was an awkward feeling.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was like, ooh, that will preach, Yeah. So whenever you're, like, you're in this season, though, do you ever feel guilty? Like,
I was just about to rant. Yes. I think there's something, because I was having another conversation with one of my now close friends. We were talking about how she is trying to leave this person behind. Guys, I don't know if you probably had this conversation.
Okay, is this like a situation where she needs to leave this relationship, or she just
knows they're not in the same season. And she's like, I love her so much, I really do, but I can't hang out with her anymore. We're not in the same season, and I feel bad because she's going through some stuff. Not that she's leaving her in the dust. Pause. There's some kind of like animosity, a little bit of like they're the same age, but this one has a lot of this one has a child and has to figure that out and be a mom,
right, just different seasons
totally
of life.
Different seasons, exactly. Yeah. And she's like, I don't want to be like, she's trying to like leave this friendship, not because she doesn't love her, but because she knows they're not in the same season anymore, like we're talking about. And she's like, how do I do this? Because she wants to, and I'm like, that is the toughest, like, that's so hard. Like, how do you truly leave something and not feel like you just left somebody in the dust?
Yeah, I think sometimes it can be uncomfortable when you're changing.
Well, how would you go about that situation? Like, she was just saying how, like, the girl wants to hang out, but then, she doesn't really want to, because she's like, I know that we're not gonna be friends, like, she doesn't want to pour into this when she knows it's not going to be fruitful. You know what I mean?
No, I get that.
So how would you, like, if you had to give the person advice?
I think you have to create distance. Like, this isn't a situation where you're going to go and be like, look, we're not in that season of life anymore, and we can't be friends. I think you just slowly start to create distance.
Well, they don't see each other.
Right.
Anymore.
Yeah. And and it might be the occasional, I'm just going, let's assume that they don't live close together right now. And think it's, when maybe there's a moment where you can say, hey, let's go get coffee. Hey, I've got 30 minutes today. Can we, and I think you can still keep those relationships, but not necessarily like create the distance of like, we're not going to FaceTime anymore. Or we don't. And I think you just have to, and a lot of times those relationships will naturally, kind of dissolve. But, the older you get, relationships are harder and harder to keep.
Yeah.
Dad and we've moved a lot because of ministry, and, we have a couple in Tennessee that we loved was John and Amber Cress. Oh my gosh, they were just the greatest people. And if we could have talked them into moving to Tuscaloosa when we got called to the church down there, we totally would have. Well, then there's Brian and Heather, who were our just absolute best friends. And right now, since they moved outside of Tuscaloosa, which made it a little bit harder for us to navigate, we started going to different churches. And church is such a big part of our life. And to be honest, everything we do revolves around church because that's the community that we want to keep.
Yeah.
And so, and then when we moved out of Birmingham, it's so hard to do that. A lot of mine and Dad's friends, when you guys were kids, were, other families who played ball.
Right.
It was just the circumstances. And so it definitely, but I think if I was to give advice, I would say, just kind of slowly start to distance yourself from those relationships. But you have to be okay to not feel guilty about it. Like it's okay for you to walk away. And I think it's almost something that you have to almost master because this is going to be the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Everything we do revolves around relationships in some way.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure. I think another thing about like leaving somebody is you're probably, when you're trying to focus on yourself and when you're trying to grow, there's growth, right? Like you are pouring into yourself. You want to make yourself better. Let's say your friend isn't wanting to go down the same path. That does create distance, and not everybody celebrates your growth. I remember like some of my friends, like in the past, I've had some friends where we sit in the muck together. Like we're dirty, we're down on luck, that's where we're going to sit and that's where we're going to chill. Yeah. So we became friends, kind of like trauma bonding, but not really that deep. But like that's how we became friends. The thing is when I was like, okay, I'm done moping. I got to get out of this. My anxiety, my depression's too bad. I got to get out.
Yeah.
Then it's like, you can't do that, Jaden. No. Like there's going to be like, not everybody celebrates your growth.
Right.
And I think that's something that, it's really sad because they can only that's when you understand what your friendship really was, is like they just related to you because of the old version of you, and we're all like caterpillars, we continue to go through the cycle. And that's not the word I want. That's not the.
No, you're constantly transforming. You should be trying to constantly become a better version of yourself. Yeah. I mean, right. I mean, that's what we talk about when we're talking about growing. Here's one thing I think that maybe can help with that. Sometimes love looks different from a distance.
Right.
Like you mentioned with you and Caroline right now, maybe there's one day where your paths cross and you are those friends again. Yeah. So sometimes love looks different from a distance.
Yeah.
You can appreciate people without giving them unlimited access to you.
That's good. I think like I think there's a thing called like healthy distance. Like you don't have to completely shut the person out of your life. Like Caroline, for example, like she's no longer in my life. I don't have any contact with her. We follow each other on social media and we like each other's posts, but I still like love her and I still have so much respect from her, like for what our past was. It was great, we had a great time, great memories. But like I think there's another thing of healthy distance where it's like Katie, where we still see each other almost every day, and we're not as close as we used to be. I mean, I think that's just like the roommate syndrome, like that's just what happens when you were roommates, where you see each other all the time. And I mean, me and her would have teas at night and we'd always discuss our days, and like that's who we were. But now I think a healthy distance is like we're not that close anymore, but I can still see Katie and just be like, hey, like, how are you? Like, I love you and I miss you.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect example of like this healthy distance. I think the one thing that you have to remember is not to keep forcing relationships that God may be transitioning.
That's good.
Yeah. And, clearly, I mean, you and Katie have been in two different walks of life recently.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, even for her, I mean, she maybe even feel like a little guilt of like, I just don't, I don't know how to, but there were a lot of people for you, Jaden, that couldn't quite walk through what you were walking through in the last year and a half. Like what you walked through it was heavy.
Right.
And we often joke, like, we don't even know if people could understand our humor as a family around it, because there were times where, like, literally we had to joke about things, and it probably would have made a lot of people awkward, but just because we needed to find some relief somewhere with not getting stressed out, and a lot of that was a little too much. And in that, I think you transitioned. I mean, your growth through that has been so great. And but I think that the greatest thing is that growth creates space for healthier relationships.
Oh, for sure.
And then a lot of times, and this is not the case in either one of your relationships, but that God removes people to protect your future.
For sure, guys. I truly think that if there starts to be a time in y'all's relationships or your friendships, and then you start feeling this, like, overwhelming, like, just, I don't know how to even explain it. Like, there just comes to a point where it's just like, you kind of feel like you need to release. Like, your hands are burning because you're trying to hold on to something.
Yeah.
And I think, like, you truly just, once that, like, it's not in your control anymore. I think you just need to let go. And if God decides to, do what God wants to do, then we have to allow him. And you don't know what's going to happen in the future. You don't know if you're just holding on to something to hurt yourself in the future because you're not allowing God to move.
Well, let me ask you this question. So now we kind of have established, like, there's just different reasons in the fact that we outgrow or that we move on from relationships that don't cause drama and things like that. But now for you, Jaden, what do you look for, like, that are like a healthy connection? What does that look like for you now?
I think, like, I have two. Mom, you're obviously one of my best friends, but you're not in this category right now.
It's okay, I know.
Okay, good.
I'm not planning on outgrowing. So
good. I will say, Haven and Brooke are like my go-to girls, and I love them so much. But if we're not talking, like, because growth happens, you're growing. But I think the wonderful thing is like those two people, they grew with me. They try to understand what was going on with me, but they were also like, okay, but you're still fun. You're still Jaden. Like, this doesn't, like, define who you are. Mm-hmm. We're just walking through it. So they made me feel safe and peace. Like, there was just so, like, this amount, like, overwhelming amount of peace in our friendships. And, like, Haven and Brooke, they both wrote me, like, letters, and they're on my prayer wall, like, just the people that truly make you feel like there's just something about, like, enjoying life, but if you truly are enjoying the life that God has for you, it's just, like, this overwhelming, like, sense of joy and, like, peace, and you're safe, and, like, no matter what happens, he's got you, and I think with those two girls, they truly had my back through whatever, but they also are like, but you're Jaden, so you get to be Jaden, and it's just reminding who God created me to be. But I think in friendships, like, I think they're going to be part of my story for a while. Yeah. But, I mean, just in the sense of, like, finding what healthy connection looks like, it's being able to talk about those things, but not live in those things. The highs, the lows, the buffaloes, everything in between. That's what healthy connection looks like. Truly, like, sitting down and talking. I mean, Mom and Dad will talk to Brooke sometimes even on the phone when I'm on the phone, and we'll be on the phone for like 2 hours, and it's just great. But yeah, I think healthy relationship or healthy connection is just truly like being who God made you to be, but also like pointing you back to God.
Yeah.
And even if
Yeah, I think
spiral.
that's kind of even for me at my age. Obviously, I don't engage in any like real relationship, and I'm talking your top people. You know, if you're not a believer, me and you can sit and have coffee,
Yeah.
and then and then I'm kind of out.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things where that's a ministering moment for me. That's not a relational friendship for me. I think one of the main things that I look for in a healthy connection right now is we talk a lot about Enneagrams and personality tests and things like that. Well, I'm an Enneagram 7. One of the things that is a nemesis for me is someone who is negative.
Right.
Like if you're negative, I can sit around you for about 2.4 seconds. And then I'm out. Like there is, and so immediately if I'm around people who constantly talk bad about people, down people, like call people names, like things like that, like I'm immediately out.
Yeah.
Like that is not, because I want to be around people that I want to be like.
Yeah.
And so so that's me for my healthy connections right now. It's just people who glorify God, but also people who speak life with their words.
That's so good. That's such a great point.
And I think the one thing that we have to just be confident of is that just not every relationship's meant to last forever.
Yeah.
Some people are part of a chapter and not part of the book or the whole book.
Yeah, the whole story.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope that from this takeaway, I mean, as we're finished, like, closing up this episode, maybe you've been grieving a relationship that is quietly changing, or maybe you're blaming yourself because you're not who you used to be anymore. Just want to remind you that growth can be lonely in the season, but it feels very peaceful. And if you are, I just pray, like, as we're closing this out, if you're going through this, like, you're not alone. It may feel very lonely. It may feel like y'all did something wrong, or you're just like, why is this happening? You're supposed to be my forever girl,
Yeah.
That's okay. I mean, we all change. We're not going to be the same high schooler that we once were. And I think that's okay. And you're probably going to have a roommate situation where you're really close with your roommate, but you're not really anymore. And that's okay. Y'all did that season together, and that's what is amazing.
Right.
Right?
Well, not every relationship ending means that someone necessarily failed.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it means people are just moving in different directions.
So here's just a final thought for this episode is that the people that's meant for your future won't require you to stay the same to keep them.
Well, that's so good.
Isn't that a good thought?
Yeah, I love that.
I do too. So, hey guys, I think really this episode has been about people, and those friendships that we've had that we've lost. But really this episode's really been about personal growth.
Yeah.
And don't let the relationships that are around you hinder the growth and the betterment of yourself. So keep moving forward and, just keep grinding to become the better person. But in that, you're going to have people that are always going to cheer you on.
Yeah.
And sometimes those people are from afar. You've got some distance. Sometimes they're holding your hand, walking right through all of it with you. So I hope you guys got a lot out of this episode. We've really enjoyed talking about this and preparing for it this week. So anyway, thanks for tuning in to the Calling Mom podcast, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.